Chapter 116 Luigi Vampa's Bill of Fare. We awake from every sleep except the one dreaded by Danglars. He awoke, to a Parisian accustomed to silken curtains, walls hung with a velvet drapery, and the soft perfume which rises from the burning wood in fireplaces, or falls from satin canopies. The appearance of the whitewashed cell which greeted his eye on awakening seems like the continuation of some disagreeable dream. At the touch of the goatskin coverlet, he fancied he was dreaming of laps and samoyeds. But in such a situation, a single moment suffices to change the strongest doubt into certainty. Yes, yes, he murmured, I am in the hands of the brigands of whom Albert de Morcerf spoke. His first idea was to breathe, that he might know whether he was wounded. He borrowed this from Don Diego, the only book, not that he had ever read it, of which he still remembers anything. No, he cried, they have not wounded, but perhaps they have robbed me. And he thrust his hands into his pockets. They were untouched. The 100 louis he had reserved for his journey from Rome to Venice were in his trousers pocket. In that of his greatcoat he found a little note case containing his letter of credit for 500,000,000 francs. Singular bandits, he exclaimed. They have left me my purse and pocketbook. As I was saying last night, they intended me to be ransomed. Hello, here's my watch. Let me see what time it is. Danglars' watch, one of the brigade's chef's d'oeuvre, which he had carefully wound up on the previous night, struck 5:30. Without this, Danglars would have been quite ignorant of the time, for daylight did not reach his cell. Should he demand an explanation from the bandits, or should he wait patiently for them to propose it? The last alternative seemed to be the most prudent, so he waited till 12 o'clock. During all this time, a sentinel, who had been relieved at 8 o'clock, had been watching his door. Danglars at that period felt a strong inclination to see the person who kept watch over him. He had remarked that a few rays, not of daylight but from a lamp, penetrated through the ill-joined planks of the door. He approached it just as the brigand was refreshing himself with a mouthful of brandy, which, owing to the leather bottle containing it, sent forth an odor which was extremely unpleasant to Danglars. Faugh! He exclaimed, retreating to the extreme corner of his cell. At 12, this man was replaced by another functionary, and Danglars, wishing to catch sight of his new guardian, approached the door again. He was an athletic, gigantic bandit, with large eyes, thick lips, and a flat nose. His red hair fell in disheveled masses like snakes around his shoulders. Ah, cried Danglars, this fellow is more like an ogre than anything else. However, I'm rather too old and tough to be very good eating. We see that Danglars was quite collected enough to jest. At the same time, as though to disprove the ogreish propensities, the man took some black bread, cheese, and onions from his wallet, which he began devouring voraciously. May I be hanged, said Danglars, glancing at the bandit's dinner through the crevice of the door. May I be hanged if I can understand how people can eat such filth. And he withdrew to seat himself upon his goatskin, which recalled to him the smell of the brandy. But the secrets of nature are incomprehensible, and there are certain invitations contained in even the coarsest food which appeal very irresistibly to a fasting stomach. Danglars felt his own not to be very well supplied just then, and gradually the man appeared less ugly, the bread less black, and the cheese more fresh, while those dreadful vulgar raw onions, the food of the savage, recalled to his mind certain sauces and side dishes, which his cook prepared in a very superior manner whenever he said, Monsieur Denisot, let me have a nice little simple dish today. He rose and knocked at the door. The bandit raised his head. Danglars knew that he was hurt, so he redoubled his blows. Qu'est-ce cosa? Asked the bandit. Come, come, said Danglars, tapping his fingers against the door. I think it is quite time to think of giving me something to eat. But whether he did not understand him, or whether he had received no orders respecting the nourishment of Danglars, The giant, without answering, recommenced his dinner. Danglars felt his pride hurt, and not wishing to commit himself with the brute, threw himself down again on his goatskin, and did not breathe another word. 4 hours passed by. The giant was replaced by another bandit. Danglars, who really began to experience sundry gnawings at the stomach, rose softly, again applied his eyes to the crack of the floor, and recognized the intelligent countenance of his guide. It was indeed Papineau was preparing to mount guard as comfortably as possible by seating himself opposite to the door, and placing between his legs another pan containing chickpea stew with bacon. Near the pan he also placed a pretty little basket of grapes and a bottle of Oriental. Papineau was decidedly an epicure. While witnessing these preparations, Danglars' mouth watered. "Come," he said to himself, "let me try if he will be more tractable than that the other." And he tapped gently at the door. "Come in," exclaimed Papineau, who, from frequenting the house of Maitre Pastrini, understood French perfectly. Danglars immediately recognized him as the man who had called out in such a furious manner, "Put in your head," but this was not the time for a recrimination, so he assumed his most agreeable manner and said with a gracious smile, "Excuse me, sir, but are they not going to give me any dinner?" "Does your excellency happen to be hungry?" "Happen to be hungry? That's excellent, when I have not eaten for 24 hours, muttered Danglars. Then he added aloud, "Yes, sir, I am hungry, very hungry." And your excellency wants something to eat?" "At once, if possible." "Nothing easier," said Peppino. "Here you can get anything you want, by paying for it, of course, as among honest folk." "Of course," cried Danglars, "although in justice, the people who arrest and imprison you ought, at least, to feed you." "That's not the custom, excellency," said Peppino. "A bad reason," replied Danglars, who reckoned on conciliating his keeper, "but I am content. Let me have some dinner." "At once. What does your excellency desire?" And Peppino placed his pan on the ground, so that the steam rose directly under the nostrils of Danglars. "Give your orders." "Have you kitchens here?" "Kitchens, of course, complete ones." "And cooks?" "Excellent." "Well, a fowl, fish, game, it signifies little, so that I eat." As your excellency pleases. You mentioned a fowl, I think?" "Yes, a fowl." Peppino turned around, shouted, "A fowl for his excellency." His voice yet echoed in the archway when a young man, handsome, graceful, half-naked, appeared, bearing a fowl in a silver dish on his head, without the assistance of his hands. "I could almost believe myself at the Café de Paris," murmured Danglars. "Here, your excellency," said Peppino, taking the fowl from the young bandit, and placing it on the worm-eaten table, which, with a stool and goat-skin bed, formed the entire furniture of the cell. Danglars asked for a knife and a fork. "Here, excellency," said Peppino, offering him a little blunt knife and a boxwood fork. Danglars took the knife in one hand and the fork in the other. It was about to cut up the fowl. "Pardon me, excellency," said Peppino, placing his hand on the banker's shoulder. "People pay here before they eat. They might not be satisfied. And ah, thought Danglars, this is no longer like Paris, without reckoning that I shall probably be fleeced. Never mind, I will carry it off well. I have always heard how cheap poultry is in Italy. I should think a fowl is worth about 12 sous at Rome. Here," he said, throwing a louis down. Peppino picked up the louis, and Danglars again prepared to carve the fowl. "Stay a moment, your excellency," said Peppino, rising. "You still owe me something." "I said they should fleece me," thought Danglars, but resolving to resist the extortion, he said, "Come, how much do I owe you for this hectic fowl?" "Your excellency has given me a louis on account." "A louis on account for a fowl?" "Certainly, and your excellency now owes me 4,999 louis." Danglars opened his enormous eyes on hearing this gigantic joke. "Very droll," he murmured, "very droll indeed," and he again began to carve the fowl, when Peppino stopped the Baron's right hand with his left, and held out his other hand. "Come now," he said. "It is not a joke?" said Danglars. "We never joke," replied Peppino, solemn as a Quaker. "What, 100,000 francs for a fowl?" "Yes, Excellency. You cannot imagine how hard it is to rear fowls in these horrible caves." Come, it is very droll, very amusing, I allow, but as I am very hungry, pray allow me to eat. Stay, here is another louis for you." "Then that will make only 4,998 louis," said Peppino, with the same indifference. "I shall get them all in time." "Oh, as for that," said Danglars, angry at his perseverance in the jest, "as for that you will never succeed. Go to the devil. You do not know with whom you have to deal." Peppino made a sign, and the youth hastily removed the fowl. Danglars threw himself upon his goatskin, and Peppino, reclosing the door, again began eating his peas and bacon. Though Danglars could not see Peppino, the noise of his teeth allowed no doubt as to his occupation. He was certainly eating, and noisily too, like an ill-bred man. "Brute," said Danglars. Peppino pretended not to hear him, and, without even turning his head, continued to eat slowly. Danglars' stomach felt so empty, it seemed as though it would be impossible ever to fill it again. Still he had patience for another half-hour, which appeared to him like a century. He again rose and went to the door. "Come, sir, do not keep me starving here any longer, but tell me what they want." "Nay, your Excellency, it is you should tell us what you want. Give your orders, and we will execute them." "Then open the door directly." Peppino obeyed. "I want something to eat. To eat, do you hear? Are you hungry? Come, you understand me. What would your Excellency like to eat?" "A piece of dry bread, since the fowls are beyond all price in this accursed place." "Bread, very well. Hola, here, some bread," he exclaimed. The youth brought a small loaf. "How much?" asked Danglars. 4,998 louis, said Peppino. "You have paid 2 louis in advance." "What? 100,000 francs for a loaf?" 100,000 francs, repeated Peppino. "But you only asked 100,000 francs for a fowl." "We have a fixed price for all our provisions. It signifies nothing whether you eat much or little, whether you have 10 dishes or 1. It is always the same price." "What? Still keeping up this silly jest? My dear fellow, it is a perfect, ridiculous, stupid. You had better tell me at once what you intend starving me to death." "Oh dear, no, your Excellency, unless you intend to commit suicide. Pay and eat." "And what I am to pay with, brute?" said Danglars, enraged. "Do you suppose I carry 100,000 francs in my pocket?" "Your Excellency has 5,050,000 francs in your pocket. That will be 50 fowls at 100,000 francs apiece, and half a fowl for the 50,000. Danglars shuddered. The bandage fell from his eyes, and he understood the joke, which he did not think quite stupid as he had done before. "Come," he said, "if I pay you the 100,000 francs, you will be satisfied, and allow me to eat at my ease." "Certainly," said Peppino. "But how can I pay them?" "Oh, nothing easier. You have an account open with Messrs. Thompson and French, Via de Banchi, Rome. Give me a bill for 4,998 louis on these gentlemen, and our banker shall take it." Danglars thought it as well to comply with a good grace, so he took the pen, ink, and paper Peppino offered him, wrote the bill, and signed it. "Here," he said, "here is the bill as such, and here is your fowl." Danglars sighed while he carved the fowl. It appeared very thin for such a round price. As for Peppino, he read the paper attentively, put it into his pocket, and continued eating his peas.